So Gav goes in. Big up yourselves. Big up yourselves. Obviously no stream yesterday. Obviously had a bit of a busy day yesterday. Big up to everyone coming through on the stream on Monday, and then obviously the Saturday one as well, which was a good one. Obviously Manchester United talk, and yeah, listen, man, I had to get a few things off my chest. Obviously, since then, obviously I've been on a Monday. Big up to Fitz as well. Big up to Jonas for coming through. Good little stream on there. And yeah, we're gonna resume again back on Monday. Obviously, international break. It's always annoying when international break comes up, but listen, man, it's just one of them things where we can't really control this, but it is frustrating. So we have to just wait and see, man. When this Premier League season comes back, because there's some tough games for United coming up. Big up to Gamer. There's some tough games coming up for Manchester United, and as I said, man, we're gonna resume in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, listen, there'll be some content definitely coming out. Yeah, two need the break, man. I think they do. Newcastle. I think Newcastle, 14th place at the moment. I think they haven't won a game. I think Newcastle haven't won a game away from home this season in 11 games. So yeah, they're going for a bit of a tough time, man. Tough time. Big up to Fitz, man. Big up, my guy. Yeah, guys, make sure you're smashing the like button and make sure you're subbing to the channel as well. I think these algorithms are messing up, man, because I've noticed over the last couple of days, man, or last week, shall I say, these views are a bit mad. So I think the algorithms are messing up. So yeah, make sure you guys smash the like button and make sure you sub to the channel as well, man, if you're new in it. But yeah, listen, international break. So yeah, there will be some definite some content coming out. I can't really predict some of the days I'm doing, so I'm a bit busy. But as I said, man, I'll always try and get some content to you guys anyway. So yeah, big up. But yeah, listen, we're gonna discuss, as always, make sure your comments are coming through and your questions. We're gonna discuss Endrick. This was a player, that was earmarked as the next R9, the next Romario. Obviously making his debut for Palmeiras, I believe at 15. I want to say, leading the line for them at 15 or 16, something like that, and obviously making his debut for Brazil. Also, I can't remember if he made the debut. I can't remember if he made his debut for Brazil when he was playing for Palmeiras or when he got the move to Real Madrid. But yeah, listen, the title obviously says, more or less, is he going to be on the move in January? Because I think I'm looking at Endrick, yeah, and I don't know why we're surprised, really, what's happening to him, because it was always going to be like that. With as soon as Mbappe came through the door, you knew he was never going to play. And even Xabi Alonso in pre-season, he even showed Endrick, that he's not really a player that he's going to be relying upon either. Because if you look at pre-season, you even had that Gonzalo Garcia that was getting goals for Real Madrid in the Club World Cup, and Endrick was really nowhere to be seen. So to think that Endrick this season, I believe, has only played 14 games? That's 14 games, 14 minutes. I think there's a stat there I see that he's played 14 minutes, and again, it's one of them things for me that I think obviously you got the World Cup coming up next year as well, so you have to believe, man, that Endrick has to be pushing through, whether it's a January loan move or a permanent. I think the problem with the loan move is the loan fee that's going to be asked from Real Madrid, because I believe they're not just going to sanction a straight loan without no loan fee, in my opinion. Again, if I'm wrong, let me know, guys, in the chat as well, and I'll definitely get back to your comments as well. But for me, I definitely think that he definitely needs a loan. You think of the World Cup coming up next year. Brazil have a lot of attacking options. If you look at the central striking role, the ones that are ahead of him, you look at João Pedro, you look at Richarlison. Cunha can play there as well. Who else is there? I don't think Gabriel Jesus will get called up, but he's back from injury now. There's a lot of competition for places. There's probably a few more that I've forgotten about, and that's not even mentioning some of the players that play out wide. Rodrigo can play as a false nine if need be. Obviously, you got Vinicius Junior, you got William Esteval, you've got Anthony. Obviously Neymar. They've got so much play. Even look at Igor Thiago from Brentford. I think people need to be looking at Igor Thiago because I've got a feeling if he carries on his form, that's a player there for me that I believe could go to the World Cup, man. 100%, I believe that, and so I think with Endrick, man, if Endrick doesn't get out at in January, I'll be very surprised, man. If well, I won't be surprised because I don't think he's going to go to the World Cup anyway, as it stands. But I think just for his career, I think he's 19 now, and this is a guy that made his debut, as I said, at 15, and it just shows you, man, that football doesn't wait for anyone. Time just goes just like that. You know what I mean? And it's one of them things for me that with Endrick, the longer he's at Real Madrid, yeah, I think the longer he's gonna stagnate, and I think his career, by the time he knows it, he's gonna be mid-20s and be doing nothing really. Because I think as long as he's at Real Madrid, and if he stays at Real Madrid, I can't see Endrick ever being a first team regular at Real Madrid. You look at Mbappe. Mbappe's mid-20s now. Mbappe's going to be the striker for as long as he wants at Real Madrid. So with Endrick, it's either Endrick gets a permanent or loan move, or adapts his game. Otherwise, he's not gonna stay at Real Madrid. And Real Madrid, as we know, they always look for the next up and coming player. So I just think based on the pressure at Real Madrid with Xabi Alonso, Xabi Alonso isn't really gonna invest his time into Endrick, in my opinion, because you think of the Champions League and the league title. Xabi Alonso is under pressure for his own job because he knows that if he doesn't win either one, he's probably on his way, Xabi Alonso, and that is the standards of Real Madrid. So in terms of Endrick, he can't even afford to give Endrick game time, because if he gives Endrick game time, and as we know, Endrick is not match fit really. He needs the rhythm to play as well. You never know, that could be points dropped. So yeah, for me personally, man, I think he is someone for me, Endrick. I'm trying to think. If you're looking at La Liga, I don't see him going anywhere in La Liga on loan. And you'd have to believe if he does go on loan in La Liga, he's not going to go Barcelona. Atletico Madrid, he's not going to go to. So really, you're looking Italy. I mean, Napoli, no. Inter Milan, no. Juventus, no. Vlahovic is there. Germany, I'm looking at teams that could improve his game. You'd obviously say Borussia Dortmund. They got Serhou Guirassy leading the line there, but do I believe Endrick can go there and displace Guirassy? I don't think that happens because Guirassy is their main goal scorer. Bayern Munich, no way. So then you look at the Premier League, and again with the Premier League, yeah, I think it's one of them things. I'm looking at, because if we're looking at the top 6 teams in the Premier League, Manchester City have got Erling Haaland, as we know. Marmoush can play through the middle, so you're looking at Endrick as he's not going to go to Manchester City. Arsenal, there's injury to Gyökeres. Havertz is out still. Gabriel Jesus is back as well, but obviously he's going to need more game time to get up to speed. Could Endrick go to Arsenal as a possibility? I don't see it. Big up to all the mods as well for coming through. Big up to Sham. Do I see Arsenal as a possibility? I'm going to say no, and that's only because I look at the fact that Havertz, will be back quite soon. Gyökeres, I think Gyökeres out for a month. So bringing in yeah, bringing in an Endrick wouldn't really make sense for the long term for me because you got players there that's been invested in by Mikel Arteta, and justifying having a an Endrick there when you've got Gyökeres, Marino can play through the middle as well, and then you've got Havertz coming back, Jesus. Yeah, listen, it's not realistic really. Um, Chelsea. I look at Chelsea, João Pedro, Delap, Mark Gu as well. So you think Chelsea's not a possibility, unless they're going to loan out a Mark Gu, you would say, and then look at an Endrick. Newcastle, I mean, Vissa's out injured, but they've invested in Vissa. Walter Marder's there as well. Could they go into the market for a loan move for Endrick and just give them more options because they're in the Champions League as well? Newcastle could be a possibility. But again, I think the loan fee, if he does move, is going to have, a bearing on it. Guys, come on, let's make sure we're smashing the like button. Only 7 likes. We got 31 of you in the moment. 7 likes. Let's make sure we're smashing the like button. Help the channel to grow, man. Obviously, these algorithms have been messing up lately. So, yeah, much appreciated if you guys smash the like button, man, and show support to the channel. And as always, guys, keep your questions coming in. Keep your comments coming in. As I said, I will definitely get back to a few of your questions and comments, man. Big up. So you look at Newcastle. I think Newcastle's definitely a possibility. Manchester United, and I purposely left United to the end because I'm looking at Man United and Sesko, obviously his injury isn't as bad as what was rumored to be. Xerxes, I think Xerxes should be playing, but there's rumors of Xerxes being moved on in January. Could Manchester United go in the market for an Endrick for a loan move if Xerxes does leave? I'm looking at Endrick and I'm thinking, would I like Endrick at Manchester United? I wouldn't say like I'm 100% confident in Endrick being a Man United player on a loan move, but I think, and I'm only saying that really because of the manager. Because if you're going to bring in a player like Endrick at this moment in time, he doesn't really fit the way United play, and again, there's no trust that this manager will definitely play Endrick either. I look at the way Endrick plays. He's got that. It's weird with Endrick. His left foot. He's got a left foot of Adriano, and he's got that diminutive build of a Romario. And he's got the movement of an R9. So again, for me, Endrick potentially is a very good player. The problem is game time for club and country just isn't there, and this is why for me, him going to Real Madrid, for his career. Again, a lot of these South American players want to play for Barca or Real Madrid. Everyone knows that. But I'm looking at, as a younger player moving from, Brazilian football, Neymar's thing was different because Neymar was just clear. It was obvious that Neymar was going to be, one of the best players to play the game. It was obvious. I look at Endrick, and Endrick was someone that was getting goals. The comparisons with R9 and Romario were there. But when you're going to Real Madrid as a striker, it's a different kind of ask in terms of what Neymar did. I've never seen a player playing in Brazil, apart from Neymar, being talked about as being a Ballon d'Or contender. And I believe he finished in the top 10 playing in Brazil. That's never happened before, and it never will happen for me. So, again, so for me, the fact that Endrick went to Real Madrid, for me, it was the wrong move. Really, he should have gone somewhere else. Maybe a Borussia Dortmund, maybe another team that can help him develop. And then once he probably hits mid-20s or slightly below that, then yeah, you could probably start saying Endrick's ready. Because again, tell me a striker that's gone to a Real Madrid or a Barcelona, two of the biggest teams in the world, at a young age, and he's holding down their own. It's never really happened. So yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But I think a Premier League move for Endrick, man, could be on the cards because I'm looking at there's a few teams that could do with him, in that Premier League. I'd say Manchester United for me. I'm purely looking at the facts. If United get a third striker in, if you can get an Endrick in, why not? But again, he's going to be in the same boat as he is at Real Madrid. And someone's already mentioned Gonzalo Garcia. Again, what happened to Garcia? This was a guy that was scoring goals in the Club World Cup, and now doesn't even get a look in, which we already knew anyway. So, because as long as Mbappe's there, there's no one that's going to come in and displace Mbappe through the middle, because of his profile, and obviously he is scoring goals as well. So, but yeah, I'm trying to think. I would like Endrick, if I'm honest with you. I wouldn't even mind seeing Endrick at a Bournemouth. Like a team that is up and coming, challenging at the moment for the European places, and then Endrick going there. You think of Evan Nilsson, who's Brazilian as well. Again, he's another guy that you can look at, although I don't think he will go to the World Cup, but he's another Brazilian that might be in the frame. But what would be good if Endrick went on loan to a Bournemouth, and helped them get into the European spots, and then you see what happens after that. I think that could be a positive move for him. Yeah, Como's a good shout under Cesc Fabregas. Again, he needs a manager that's gonna improve his game because for me he's still very raw. And when Endrick was being talked about as being the next big thing, I saw a couple of games at Palmeiras. I saw a couple of the strikes he was doing. Where I changed my mind on Endrick was when he made his debut for Brazil against England, funny enough, at Wembley. And he scored on his debut, but there was a chance that he actually missed. And because of the hype that's around his name, and because of the way that I kind of thought of Endrick in a sense, he went through, and I think he went through 1-on-1. And I just said, yeah, he's gonna score that. And I think he actually put it wide. And it's the way he put it wide. And that's when I thought to myself, he's not as good as I thought he was. He's not as good as I thought he was. And again, his career has stagnated. You think of Rodrigo now. Rodrigo can't even get game time, which is an absolute joke. For me, Rodrigo is Real Madrid's most talented forward. But I always said in this system, Rodrigo's not going to play because just have a look at how Xabi Alonso played at Bayer Leverkusen with the left-footed player on the right-hand side inverted. And Rodrigo, as we know, is a left winger anyway. And he was never going to displace Mbappe or Vinicius Jr. from the attacking line. So you think of him not playing, Arda Güler's getting more game time, which I'm happy about because he's a top player. Franco Mastantuano's been brought in. So again, sometimes I even forget that Real Madrid have got Endrick. That's how bad it is. Because when I talk about Real Madrid and their attacking line, obviously it's always Vinicius Jr., Mbappe, Rodrigo, Güler, Mastantuano, the new signing. And Endrick is always forgotten about, and it's one of them things for me that this is why for me he definitely needs a loan move. He definitely needs a loan move, and whether he gets that or Real Madrid want to keep him around just in case of injuries, I think he needs to force the move himself for me, Endrick. And as I said, man, it's crazy to think that you got a guy that was bought for 60 odd million. Was talked about as being Brazil's next big striker, and he can't even get into the Brazil squad now. I think that's the fourth international tournament that he's been overlooked, and then now you think at Real Madrid, I think he's played something like 14 minutes, which is madness, really. He's 19 years of age now as well, and it's definitely clear that his days are numbered at Real Madrid. So whether Real Madrid look at him as their future striker after Mbappe remains to be seen. Because as we know, Real Madrid, they always go for the next big thing anyway. But what I would say, man, is he definitely needs to get a loan move in this window. Guys, I'm gonna go through some of your questions and comments. Let's make sure we're smashing the like button and make sure we're subbing to the channel as well if you're new in here. So Endrick is being wasted at Madrid. I want to see him play regularly so we can really assess his potential. Yeah, listen, I agree. I think his potential for me, I do definitely think his potential at this moment in time it's under question. Yeah, I think the way that I saw it, yeah, I thought he was going to be generational for what he was doing. I don't think he's going to be generational for me. I think that word gets thrown out too often. I don't think he's going to be generational. I think he can still be, a top striker, but when you're earmarked as a generational player, you're more or less playing regularly for the first team. Now, you look at Lamine Yamal, he's generational. He's a regular starter for club and country. You look at Neymar when he first came through. He was generational. He was starting for club and country. The same with Messi. You know what I mean? So these are what you call generational players. Endrick, I thought was going to be that, but the very fact that he doesn't start for club and country just shows you that really. Is it too early to say that his time's passed him by to become generational? I don't think it's too early for that because he's 19 now. And again, this was a guy that made his debut, I believe, at 15. So I think, he definitely is being wasted at Real Madrid. And this is why January is a perfect time for him to get a loan move. But I just don't know where he goes confidently because, I don't see him going to Germany unless he goes to, Red Bull Leipzig might be a possibility. Who's the strikers now for Leipzig? There's no more Lois Openda, obviously no more Sesko. So who's leading the line? They had Poulsen last time. I don't know if Poulsen's still there. So yeah, it's difficult to say, man, where he actually goes. But I think the Premier League might be his likely destination, if I'm honest. So yeah, I'm gonna say Premier League, but I'm not sure where he ends up. I think if he's looking to get, you would say, his career back on track, and get regular game time, he might have to think of a Bournemouth, maybe an Aston Villa. Aston Villa won't be a bad shout, I think. In actual fact, I think Aston Villa would be a great shout for him because they've only got Ollie Watkins. They've got Evan and Gessan as well, who can play through the middle. So, Aston Villa could be a good shout. They're in Europe as well. That could be a good move for his career. So yeah, but there's no denying, man. He definitely needs to get regular football, man. No doubt. Yeah, I can see a loan fee similar to Tell last January, around 5 mil. I think that might be the best bet. The only problem is, do Real Madrid look at Endrick just in case? Let's say Mbappe gets injured. Worst case scenario. Who goes and plays through the middle? Is it going to be Endrick or Gonzalo Garcia? So they could be thinking of that. But I think for Endrick's career, he has to move on, man. There's no doubt he has to move on for me. I'll be very surprised if he stays around. Because this World Cup coming up next year, and the only way he gets into this squad or even gets talked about is through a loan move because he's not going to play regular for Real Madrid this season. So unless he forces a loan move, him and his team, he ain't going to no World Cup, and again, they've got a lot of forwards to pick from. And at the moment, he's been left out the last 4 squads. So yeah, man, it's crazy to think, man, if he doesn't get a move. Endrick is not even a talent, wasted money from Madrid. No, I think he's definitely a talent. It just depends what kind of talent he is. I think the Madrid move, though, probably has come too early for him because let's not forget, did he sign at the same night? I think he was there before. I think he arrived before Mbappe. But then when Mbappe came through the door, man, it was obvious that he was never going to get game time. So it is mad, man. But this is football, unfortunately. And because of Mbappe's name, Endrick was never really going to be taken seriously, especially by Xabi Alonso. So, yeah, man, he needs to definitely get a loan move for me. Endrick is way better than Gonzalo. Yeah, but listen, it's not about him being way better. Gonzalo Garcia was getting goals in pre-season. So immediately you're going to start saying he would have been ahead of Endrick in the pecking order, judging by the Club World Cup. But obviously now, Gonzalo Garcia is nowhere to be seen. So it just shows you, man, that pre-season and that it's pointless in a sense. It doesn't really matter how well you're doing, because I believe Mbappe, was he injured? And then I think he got a couple of goals in the Club World Cup. And then, but as we knew, he was always going to be the main guy to start through the middle for Real Madrid. Even though really he's not even a striker, Mbappe. But there was no way that Garcia was going to get game time, and Endrick was even behind Garcia. So I think from what I've seen so far of both the players, yeah, Endrick probably is better than Garcia, but both players are not really getting game time. So it's hard to kind of judge who's where, really, you know. Should Rodrigo leave Madrid? Listen, I've been saying this for time, man. Like, as soon as Xabi Alonso came through the door, Rodrigo should have left, because all you have to look at is how Xabi Alonso played at Bayer Leverkusen, and have a look at the players that Rodrigo's competing with. When you're competing with Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., two players that I've said as well, when it comes to Madrid playing against the best teams in Champions League, they're going to come unstuck, because you've got two players there in their own right who want to be the superstars. So something has to give. And not to mention, both players are more effective from playing out wide. I know Mbappe is obviously playing more through the middle, but I still see Mbappe as a left winger, not as a striker. So you think of that, yeah? And you think that Rodrigo, for me, is third choice. For me, not in terms of ability, but in terms of standing, how they're talked about in world football, he's definitely the third one. So the fact that, Xabi Alonso had, if you think of Amin Adli that he had at Bayer Leverkusen, that was a left-footed player playing inverted, Rodrigo was never really going to get game time as much as he should do, because you look at Mastan Tawano and you look at Arda Güler, who can play out there as well. They're both left-footed. So the fact that Rodrigo's not really getting much game time, I saw that from the start. This is why I said, Real Man City, Chelsea were possibilities for him to go to. I look right now, look at what Jeremy Doku's doing. It's crazy, to think that Rodrigo now, they might not even look at Rodrigo no more, Man City. Like, it just shows you how football works, man. It's, yeah, it can just change just like that. But for me, he definitely should leave, man, because a player of his level should not be coming off the bench. He came off the bench against Liverpool, and you could tell from that game, he looked out of sorts, Rodrigo. He looked like he had put on a bit of weight as well when he was playing. He looked, obviously he's changed his boots, but he just looked not up to the level. So I don't know what's going on with Rodrigo, man. He's a top player, but his time, for me, he has to leave Real Madrid. As long as Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe are there, he's going to be third choice to them. So for me, he definitely has to leave. Big up United fan. Yeah, listen, I can see him at Bournemouth. I mean, would I have said Endrick at Bournemouth when he went to when he was leaving Palmeiras, and they was talking about him going to Real Madrid? Bournemouth would have never been in question. But I look at the fact that they've got a top manager in or coach, should I say, in Andoni Iraola. You look at the fact that they've got a striker that's Brazilian anyway in Evan Nilsson, and the way they play football, that could suit Endrick. Loan move, that will work for Endrick, up in his chance for inclusion for the World Cup. And I look at Real Madrid as well, that are not really using him. So it could work out for both sides. But I definitely think Bournemouth is a possibility. Where are Bournemouth now in the league? I think they've lost their last two league games heavily as well. But I believe they might be, what, fifth or sixth, something like that. So again, they're battling for the European places. So if they was to bring in an Endrick in January, it could be a smart bit of business, man. So Yeah, exactly, man. This manager will play him at right wing back. Yeah, listen, there's no way he's coming to Man United. Yeah, under this manager, yeah, 100%, man. He's playing right wing back because all you have to look at is what he's doing with Ahmad. You know, Ahmad's got the same kind of profile as Giovanni Quenda that Amarim sees in him, even though we know he's a 10. And this is why you're seeing Ahmad play right wing back. Crazy. So yeah, I mean, I can't trust this manager to do anything with any certain players, man. So it's crazy. Big up to Daniela. Big up. Messi or Ronaldo? The amount of times I get asked this, Messi. Messi easily. So do you think Real Madrid will win a Champions League in the next 5 years? I mean, to be honest with you, that's a good question. It's a good question, yeah? But it's one of them things where, do I believe they can win it under Xabi Alonso? I'm not so sure. Do I think they can win it with the current set of players they have? I don't think so. And I'll tell you why, yeah? The front line that they have, which players that play regularly, and I've always said this, yeah? Bellingham, Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe doesn't work. It doesn't work. Especially against the better teams, it doesn't work. Because for different reasons, all three of them players are hyped to a level that a lot of them are not at. You know, if I'm looking at all three of them right now, the only player you would probably say that is living up to the billing, you would say, is probably Mbappe. And even Mbappe, I think, is slightly overrated anyway. But Vinicius Jr., he's dropped off since Mbappe's came. And I just don't rate Jude Bellingham. Like, I've never rated Jude Bellingham. So to say will they win a Champions League in the next 5 years, I'm gonna say it's gonna be difficult based on the current crop of players that they've got in attack and based on Xabi Alonso. Because I do like Xabi Alonso as a manager, but I just think, you know, he's not going to win a Champions League for me this season. Even though, you know, he does have the capabilities one day maybe to win a Champions League, but it's going to be difficult, man. And yeah, I'm gonna say it can be difficult, but Real Madrid are probably the one team that you would never count against not winning the Champions League, because whether people like it or not, they are the Champions League. But I just don't think it happens under this current crop of players, man, and possibly not with this manager. Listen, man, it's a bit of a zesty comment there, boy. Nice rack. Nah, man, listen, allow that. Big up for coming on, man, but yeah, allow that talk, man. Nah, I'm joking. What about Vinny Jr.? As I said, man, Vinicius Jr. for me, and I predicted all this. It's funny, yeah, because I've predicted a lot of these things that were going to happen at the start of the season. And again, if you guys have watched any of my content from before, I predicted Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo, what was going to happen. Because if you look at Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo, when they played with Benzema, that was the preferred front line, you know, and those guys won Champions Leagues, and the balance was there. Even though Rodrigo is actually a left winger, the balance of Benzema as the link man, as the striker, and Vinicius Jr. was, you know, he was as crucial as Benzema, you know. And then you think of Benzema going, you know, it was Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo that were part of the front line. And then they had Bellingham playing as a false nine. You know, you had, what's the striker that used to be at Newcastle? Hosselu. Remember Hosselu getting the goal in the semi-final, I believe, as well. So, again, you had a better Vinicius Jr. and you had a very good Rodrigo. And I said, as soon as Mbappe comes in, you know, Vinicius Jr. is going to drop off and Rodrigo is going to find himself not in the team once the manager's changed as well. And that's happened. And that's not really hard to work out. I predicted all these things. So Vinicius Jr. for me, he's another player that really has to move. Because the fact that Mbappe is there, This is Mbappe's team now. It used to be Vinicius Junior's team once Benzema went, but now it's Mbappe's team. And Vinicius Junior now is more like a. I'd say Vinicius Junior is more of a supporting act now, and I don't think there's no one that can deny that because Mbappe really is ahead of him. And who would have thought that? Because Vinicius Junior, was carrying them. Not well, I say carrying them, but he was instrumental in them winning Champions Leagues. Can I see Mbappe again, who hasn't won a Champions League yet? Can I see him carrying Real Madrid to a Champions League? I don't know. And again, this season is crucial for Mbappe because he saw his compatriot in Ousmane Dembele win a Ballon d'Or before him, and there's no one in this chat right now that would have seen that. And Dembele winning a Ballon d'Or before him, so he's got a big World Cup coming up, captaining France, and he's got the Champions League to win as well. So it's gonna be a massive season for Mbappe. Big up to Cole Logic says best place for a young striker is Como. Maybe. I mean, says Fabregas is there, top coach. I believe Fabregas, and I don't think it's too early to say this, but I think Fabregas is eventually going to be, if we're talking about international, I think he can be Spain manager in the future. And club-wise, don't be surprised, man, if he doesn't manage a Barcelona, a team in the Premier League, possibly maybe an Arsenal, maybe a Man City. Like, don't be surprised because he's a top coach, man. Top coach. So I hear that, man. Yeah, 100%. So has he not said he wants to go to Lyon already? I mean, I've not heard that Endrick wants to go Lyon. I've not heard that, but I mean, him going to France. You know what? I didn't really think of France. I mean, PSG. Nah, I can't see that because they, as we know, they don't really play with a main striker as it is anyway, and they've got what's his name? What's the striker called again? Portuguese striker. Forgot his name. And he Gonzalo Ramos, and he's not even playing regularly himself. So, if Endrick went there, he'd be the next He'd just be like Gonzalo Ramos, really. But again, they're not going to sign him when they've got Ramos that can just come off the bench and nick a goal anyway. So, but yeah, Lyon. I haven't heard the Lyon one personally. Vitor Roque struggled at Barca. Endrick struggles at Madrid. Brazil strike attacks. Yeah, listen, I agree, man. And Vitor Roque, again, he's another one. He come from who was he at before? Vitor Roque. Was it not Flamengo? Where did Vitor Roque come from? I can't remember. But Vitor Roque was another one, yeah? Because people were thinking that it was going to be in the future. Vitor Roque and Endrick, two Brazilian strikers batting it out for two of the biggest clubs in the world. Now, he's another one, Vitor Roque, just like Endrick. When I saw Vitor Roque play, again, I just said, nah, he's not what I thought he was. Because again, he was another striker that was earmarked as the next R9. And then I see him play for Barcelona, and I said he's not a Barca player. And, it wasn't too long before Barca actually realised that and got rid of him. I think he went on loan to Real Betis as well. But again, yeah, Vitor Roque was another one. And now he's back in Brazil, man. So, yeah, he was someone that was touted highly. And I think he might be 20, 21, 22 now. Yeah, but he's another one. Trent on the bench, yeah. Yeah, I agree. Great comment. So scoring goals at the highest level isn't something you can learn on the job at a club that is supposed to win everything. I 100% agree. 100% agree. And this is why I said the hype that Endrick was getting, yeah, it's one of them things where he was never going to be the main striker. There's never been a main striker at that age for Real Madrid. Real Madrid purely just bought him for his potential. And at the moment, he's not really even getting game time. But to think that, I mean, was Endrick naive to the point that he thought he was going to come to Real Madrid and start? Like, tell me where Real Madrid have started a 18 17 18 year old striker leading the line for one of the biggest clubs in the world, if not the biggest. So again, you're not going to learn the job at a Real Madrid, and you shouldn't do. You know, you shouldn't be learning a job at Man United, Real Madrid, Barcelona. You have to be the finished article, or you have to be a guarantee. When Neymar was signed by Barcelona, there was no bedding in period or nothing with Neymar. Neymar was ready to go now. And this is why they invested in him. And let's not forget as well, Neymar was first looked at by Real Madrid. You know, I remember playing the Champ Manager games, yeah? And Neymar was, and this was back in the day, yeah? Neymar was relevant then. And this was Neymar at 15. Because remember, Neymar made his debut for Santos at 15. Yeah? And I remember playing that game and just searching up Neymar's name, and he was in the game at 15. So he was guaranteed to be a superstar, just like Yamal is. You know, people are saying that Esteval might be generational. I think it's too early to say if Esteval is going to be generational, because Esteval's not a regular starter for Chelsea. Whether he should be or whether he should or shouldn't, he's not a regular starter for club or country. Neymar, Yamal, there's no talk about them being on the bench, or are they going to be in the squad. These guys they're the key players for their country and club. You know, so this is the level, really. So the fact that Endrick, you know, he went to Real Madrid because of Real Madrid, the name. You know, he went there because of he obviously believed in himself as well. And again, coming away from Brazil, you know, coming into Europe, yeah, you can understand the move. But if he didn't really see that he wasn't going to play regularly, then it's pretty poor, really, you know. And I think January, man, he has to get a move. He has to get a move. I'd be very surprised if he's there come the end of January. So, yeah, again, look at Big Up Fitz. Look at Hakimi. People probably forget that Hakimi come through at Real Madrid. And imagine Real Madrid now with Hakimi at right back. You see what I mean? So Real Madrid, they just have so many younger players. They've got, is it Nico Paz, who's at Como? And Nico Paz is a very good player. And they're looking at bringing him back, I believe, next season. But they just have too many quality players. But you have to be special to be a starter for Real Madrid. Again, the youngest player that's playing games for Real Madrid right now, I think might be Mastantuono. And even he isn't a regular starter. Look at Arda Güler. Is Arda Güler, what, 20 now? He's not a regular starter. Or wasn't when he first came. So again, Endrick coming in at when he was, what, 17, 18? And now he's 19, not even getting game time. It's not easy, man. It's not easy. As I said, I thought he would have been generational from the clips that I see, but it's quite clear that he's not, you know, and there isn't too many generational players out there anyway. You know, I think the one generational player that we can definitely say is Yamal. I don't think there's no one else. There's no one else. He's the certified generational. I'm gonna say Pedri as well. He's generational for me, because he's a top player, Pedri. But he's a little bit older than Yamal. So Ansu Fati, another one. You know what it is with Ansu Fati though, yeah. Ansu Fati for me, he should have been what Yamal was, but injuries killed his career, have killed his career so far. And I think the fact that he's gone to Monaco. The funny thing is, yeah, is that he went to Monaco on loan, yeah? And I thought it was a good move from Barca to see how he gets on and then bring him back. Because I still think Ansu Fati, you know, he's still got something for me in the game. The injuries have killed him. I think he's fit at the moment, which is good. But I still think he's got something to offer. But then I think I see something where Monaco can actually buy him after his loan deal, and they can buy him for something cheap. So it's crazy, man. There's a reason why he had number 10 on his back after Messi, and now obviously that's gone to Yamal. But he's another player, man, and you can't always guess the injuries. That's injuries going to happen like that. So yeah, it's frustrating, man. But he was a top player, man. And to fact, well, I say he was a top player. He was a top player in the making, and injuries have killed him. But he's still only what 21, I think. So he's still got time on his side. But him going to Monaco was a very good move. But I just thought that Barca would have brought him back and see how he gets on. So I think if he continues what he's doing, Monaco might just sign him on a permanent. And again, Monaco are doing well this season, man, in the league. Then PSG and Marseille, it's tight at the top at the moment. So those R9 Romario comparisons will also weigh heavy on him. Expectations are almost too high for any young talent. Yeah, 100%. I think the Romario one's because of his build, and the R9 one is because I think any young striker that comes through is going to get compared to an R9. There's never going to be another R9 for me ever. He's got a left foot of Adriano as well. So yeah, man, it's the expectation on his shoulders. It was heavy, and this is probably why him going to arguably the biggest club in the world straight away didn't really make any sense when you think about it now. He should have probably because again, I think what people need to think as well is that if you believe in your talent, yeah, you believe in yourself, these moves will always be round the corner. They'll always be on the horizon. So he should have thought to himself, right, Real Madrid's a massive club. Let me go somewhere, and find my feet. And then Real Madrid will always be there. Because Real Madrid, as we know, the pool of Real Madrid is always going to be there. So he should have probably thought to himself, let me go somewhere, maybe get a title under my belt, get regular game time, get the experience, and then go to Real Madrid after. But he went straight to Real Madrid, and now he's an afterthought when you think about it with Endrick. Because I've actually forgot he even exists. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Yeah, listen, I agree. Last place you go when you're trying to get confidence is the Premier League. But I personally think it depends on the club he goes to. The manager he plays under. Because I look at coaches in the... look at Crystal Palace. Mateta is the main striker, don't get me wrong. But look at what Glasner has done for Mateta. I'm looking at the coaches that are available, and why wouldn't you go to a Bournemouth or a Crystal Palace? Sunderland? Yeah, Sunderland could be a possibility, but I'm saying Bournemouth or Palace because of the coaches they've got, man. You know. Chelsea will have him if he's young enough. Yeah, but again, the reason I mentioned Chelsea earlier, but the reason I'm not saying Chelsea now is because they've invested in the lap. I know he only cost 30 million, but he's still young enough as well. They invested in João Pedro, Mark Hughes there as well. So to them bring in an Endrick, wouldn't really make sense. I'd understand if Gu wasn't there or if Delap or Pedro had a long-term injury. But them guys, Delap's back fit now. So they've got three strikers and then bringing in an Endrick where Endrick doesn't confidently start ahead of them. So it wouldn't really make sense. Strasbourg, another one. Yeah, Strasbourg's another one. Yep. So Bournemouth are ninth, yeah, from 5th to ninth, all 18 points. And that just shows you, man, how tough this league is. Just shows you. Big up to Barbara Joseph as well for the super sticker. Big up. Big up to DXR, man. Guys, I'm so sorry I ain't been attending. I'm legit drowning with my job. Bro, listen, man. It's all good, man. Listen, don't let your work get on top of you, man. Listen, you gotta kind of just think of your health, man. Think of your well-being. You know, jobs will always be there, man. That's how you gotta look at it. You know, if this is a job that is getting you down, it's not doing good for your health, man, then maybe it's not the right job for you. So, as I said, man, don't let any kind of job get on top of you, man. It's you gotta enjoy your life. As I said, man, if you come onto this channel and you're looking at it as a bit of a stress relief, then yeah, man, it's always gonna be here. So but listen, big up, man, for coming on. As I said, the main thing is you're here now. Well, I hope you're still there anyway. But nah, man, big up, big up. There's no 5'8" striker in the Prem for a reason. I don't see Endrick joining. Yeah, listen, but that's part of the problem. Football now, the way football's gone, doesn't really make any sense. You know, look at Jermaine Defoe. You know, Jermaine Defoe wasn't 6 foot, and so yeah, you look at the Premier League now, and there ain't really no 5'8", 5'7" strikers. There's not, which is ridiculous, really. But it's just the way football's going at the moment, man. Unfortunately. As a Palmeiras fan, I would love to see get Endrick back. A lot of pressure was put on him. He couldn't handle it at a young age. Big up to Filippo Castellotti. Big up, man. You know what? I hear it, yeah. But for me personally, I think him going back to Brazil would be a downward step. Because you don't go from Palmeiras to Real Madrid and then go back to Brazilian football. Like, as I mentioned to you, Neymar didn't do that. Esteval is not going to do that. So I just think with Endrick, he just needs to go out on loan, you know, probably away from the limelight of Real Madrid, and just basically just get his head down and start working, because this World Cup is next year, and if he has a good 6 months on loan somewhere, he could force his way into that squad. You never know. But I think, yeah, him going back to Palmeiras. Obviously, I know you're a fan, but I just don't think that would be logic for his career, man. I think that'd be a backward step, you know. And the whole reason he left Palmeiras in the first place is for a forward step. I don't think him going back to Brazilian football is going to do anything for his career progression, man. Doesn't make sense. I have to say Mbappe's better, actually, no way better than Yamal, because his attitude and his playing is... yeah, Roque was at Atletico Paranense. Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't Roque at Leverkusen? Nah, he went to Real Betis on loan. Okay, I'm just going through some of the comments. I've missed some of them. Gav, what do you think of Jeremy Doku? His football skills, technique is sick. Again, Doku's an interesting one there, because Doku's a player that I don't really rate, if I'm honest with you, yeah? But as someone said, you don't see any 5'8" strikers in the Premier League, yeah? And again, Doku kind of plays into this in a sense, in the way the Premier League is. The Premier League is very physical, and it relies a lot on the physicality and the pace, yeah. And with me, the reason I don't really rate Doku, yeah, is because the way that I'm used to seeing football played is more. I like seeing players that are more comfortable in possession, that are more technical for me, yeah. And the Doku that I saw last season wasn't that. I'd have to say, and I'll hold my hands up, Doku definitely looks like he's improved. He has. And that's a lot to do with Pep Linders being at Man City now. Because the way that Man City play, they're playing a bit more direct into Haaland and into Doku, which gets the best out of them. And I'm looking at that performance that Doku put in against Liverpool, yeah? And he was an absolute problem for the whole game. You know, that's probably been, in terms of a winger performance in the Premier League, it's probably, because Eden Hazard for me is not a winger. He's a number 10 playing out wide. But in terms of a performance from a player playing out on the left against a top team, I don't think I can remember a performance like that. Every time he got the ball, Doku, he was a problem, and he capped it off with a goal, and a very good goal as well. So for me, he's not my one of my favorite players to watch, but there's no doubt in that he's at Man City this season. With the introduction of Pep Linders, him and Haaland are looking devastating. And that's because they're getting a bit more direct. They're getting the ball into them quickly in the areas where they can hurt the opposition. So for me, he's not a top player, but this season you have to give him credit where credit's due. And if he puts in more performances like he did against Liverpool, then listen, man, I'll be the first one to hold my hands up and say, do you know what? He's proved me wrong. But at this moment in time, I think it's still a bit cautious at the moment. But there's no denying, man. He's been very good this season so far. And that performance, man, as I said, that's probably been the best performance of an individual player so far this season. And I'm talking about the whole of Europe. He was that good. Like, he was unplayable, you know? Yeah, big up, man. Big up. R9 is the benchmark for young strikers, but it's nonsensical because R9 was called the phenomenon for a reason. Nobody comes close. Couldn't disagree, man. Can't disagree with that. That is what it is. As I've said to you guys plenty of times, the closest striker, and you guys probably won't even probably realize this year, but the closest striker to R9 was Benzema. And that's because Benzema modeled his game on R9 when he was at Lyon. And now, obviously, when Benzema went to Real Madrid, he had to adapt his game. And obviously, he was a bit different when he went to Real Madrid. He had to adapt his game basically because Ronaldo came in. But he modeled his game on R9. If anyone saw Benzema at Lyon, you would have seen how devastating he was, man. So, but yeah, the phenomenon R9, man, there's a reason for that. There's been no striker that comes close. The only striker I would say that could have rivaled R9 for me, not in terms of an identical player, but in terms of how good could he have been, and you guys know this already, was Adriano. Like, if anyone knows the Emperor, Adriano, one of my favorite players, man, he was devastating, Adriano. And it's a shame, man, that he fell off the rails, man, after his father passed away. But yeah, he was devastating. So I want Endrick or Rodrigo at Liverpool, not to bother about Vinny. Yeah, I think in terms of those two players, they're not going to get either one of them Liverpool now because they've invested in Isak and Ekatike, so there's no Endrick. And then you look at the left-hand side, Wirtz is a 10 for me, but they've got Gakpo, Rio's obviously there as well. So unless they sell a Gakpo and go for a Rodrigo, then I can't see that happening, but he's definitely a top player, man. Rodrigo to replace Salah would make Liverpool a serious threat. I hear that, but it's not a direct replacement because Salah's left-footed. So if they wanna replace someone for like in terms of being the same foot, this is why I said Yankuba Minte, guys. If you guys haven't seen my stream on Yankuba Minte, give it a check, man. He's the ideal replacement for Salah. And as I said, if Liverpool are smart, they'll be identifying him very soon or now. Because I'm looking at what he has to offer Minte at Brighton, and he's the obvious replacement for Salah. He's the most obvious replacement for Salah that I've seen. Rodrigo would be a replacement, but Rodrigo's not a right winger; he's a left winger. So he could be the replacement if they were to move on Cody Gakpo. But in terms of like for like, Minte is the ideal replacement, no doubt. And as Sham said, yeah, Rodrigo would want to play his preferred position on the left. Yeah, Elise, of course, but I don't see them. I don't see Liverpool getting Elise. Yankuba Minte's the one. I'm telling you. I think people are sleeping on Minte. They're sleeping on him. He's a problem. You know, he's an absolute problem. So I think they're sleeping on Minte. Doku should have been Sadio's replacement at Liverpool, but not just didn't happen. He's a good player, I believe. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, probably because of his physicality. But yeah, I mean, obviously they got Gakpo out there. You know, you've even got Chiesa. To think that Chiesa plays through the middle now, which is crazy because Chiesa is actually a wide player. But yeah, I think the only way they get Rodrigo is possibly if they was to move on a Gakpo, and you know, but even that is not a guarantee. What do you think of Semenyo? I think in this league, Semenyo's a problem because of the physicality and the pace. Um, you know, there was talk about Man United signing Semenyo. I don't want Semenyo at Man United. I don't. And again, he doesn't really fit at Man United for me because I'm looking beyond this 3-4-2-1 formation. I'm looking at 4-2-3-1. And no one's gonna make me not forget about this formation because I'm looking at the players United have, and they're a 4-2-3-1 team. They are. You know, if you want to say 4-3-3, I prefer 4-2-3-1 because it means you can get Ahmad in the 10 and play Mbuemo from the right, Cunha from the left, and Xerxes a striker. So for me, Semenyo could fit into that team, but are you going to have Semenyo or Cunha? I'd rather have Cunha on that left-hand side. So, you know, if I'm being honest with you, Semenyo is someone that Arsenal should have signed. Because if you look at Arsenal, if you look at him on that left-hand side, and you take away Martinelli and Trossard, you know, for me, he's more of a threat than both of them. So he's someone that they actually should have targeted. But again, man, he signed a new contract at Bournemouth, and Bournemouth are going to ask for a lot of money, man. So yeah, it's unlikely to happen. So, but guys, listen up. Big up yourselves. I'm gonna wrap it up anyway. Big up yourselves for coming through. Again, make sure if you haven't smashed the like button, make sure you do. Obviously, these algorithms are messing up at the moment, so yeah, smash the like button, guys. Help the channel to grow. Much appreciated. And again, if you haven't subbed to the channel, make sure you do as well. If you're a newcomer. And as I said, man, yeah, we've got international break. Again, I'm not interested in watching in England play. If I'm honest, I can't stand England play in these kind of countries, man. It's a waste of time. Obviously, it's the last two games for the qualifiers, but as I said, man, we will definitely get some content in. And yeah, listen, it's crazy, man. This league, obviously, I can't wait till the league resumes because there's some big games coming up. I mean, look at Arsenal's fixture list. Look at Chelsea's. You know, them teams have got some tough games coming up. And Man United have got 3 games. I think they got Everton. Is it Everton, West Ham, and Palace? And I'll tell you this now, those 3 games are not going to be easy. They're not going to be easy. So, yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. But, yeah, listen, 100%, man. Yeah, Chrism, man, as I said, man, detox and gym time while 40's off. Has to be, man. Has to be. Get the work in. You know, there's no rest time in that regard, man. And yeah, I've got like 4 weeks to my boxing fight as well. So yeah, man, I've got training tonight, so I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, man, just keep putting in the work, the fitness in, and yeah, man, it's yeah, big fight this weekend as well. Eubank and Conor Ben. And I'm gonna say Eubank Jr., man. I think Eubank Jr. I think he stops him in round 10. I'm gonna say round 10. I think the fact that Eubank Jr. he's got Terence Crawford's coach Bomac in his corner as well, and I just wonder if they're gonna try and see if they can try and get Conor Ben out there early. You know, so But yeah, I'm gonna say round 10, man. Round 10 for Eubank Jr. Um, I think the only way Conor Ben, and again, big up to Fitz as well, because I know Fitz said on Monday that it's one of them things where there's definitely they're gonna build it up to be a trilogy. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I hear that, but I don't think Eubank Jr. would allow himself to get beat by Conor Ben. And I think the only way Conor Ben can win this is if he more or less he more or less has to adopt the same approach and try and get Eubank out of there. But Eubank's tough. That's the problem. I think if Conor Ben tries to box Eubank, it's not gonna work, man. Eubank's the bigger is the heavier fighter, and is the more experienced, and technically he's better. So I think if Conor Ben, shows that aggression, and keeps it up for the entirety of the fight, then who knows? But I just got a feeling, man, that Eubank gets him out of there. But as I said, trilogy, trilogy loading, yeah, a draw. Now I can't see it, and even if it is a draw, I don't see there being a trilogy. I think the only way this goes to a trilogy is if Conor Ben wins, and I just don't see. I don't think Eubank's soul will allow him to be beat by Conor Ben. And again, Conor Ben's already been beaten by him, so it probably won't mean that much of a difference. But yeah, I think Eubank stops him, man, round 10. But I think definitely it's gonna be a good fight, man, because I think the only annoying thing for me, the press conferences haven't been as entertaining as the first one, because the first one was jokes, man. I'm telling you. Like I think I've watched the first ones. I watched the one on Piers Morgan. I watched the one, the press conferences, normal ones as well. I think I've seen them about 4 or 5 times each. Like, and I'm always laughing at the same things, because yeah, Eubank's a character, man. He's a very good talker, and you've got him, who's the laid back one, who's calm, and then you've got obviously Conor Ben, who's the fiery one, and then that works because you've got two opposite ends of the scale, and but this time around, Conor Ben's been more reserved. Obviously Eubank and Eddie Hearn, them two going back and forth. So yeah, man, it's gonna be a good fight, man. So I'm definitely gonna be watching that on Saturday, and as I said, I'm gonna say yeah, Eubank round 10. But if it's a draw and the third one happens, then so be it, man. But I'm not so sure. Yeah, Anthony Yard against David Benavidez. That'd be a good fight as well. That'd be a very good fight. When is that? Is that on Saturday as well, that one? Now, listen, yeah, but Eubank knows what he's getting into with the weight. There's a rehydration clause as well. So, yeah, listen, Eubank knows, man. But I don't think that's gonna stop him, in my opinion. In my opinion, that's not gonna stop him for me. But so it's all a Rocky movie. Remember the end of Rocky 2, both slugging it out at the bell. Big hugs and respect. Run it again. Yeah, listen, I hear it, man. I hear it. But yeah, I hear it, man. As I said, I don't discount what you're saying, but for me, I just think that Eubank stops him, man. I don't know why I can see it. So, but again, if it does go to a trilogy, then it's gonna bring the money in, man, and that's what it's about, I suppose. Um, all about Islam versus GDM. Oh, what is that? Islam Makachev. Who's JDM? Who's JDM? I need to get back onto my UFC, man. I've not watched UFC for a while now. Ben will train with Eubank for Eubank versus Paul because Rocky 3 told me. Boy, let's see, man. Let's see. But as I said, man, it's sure to be a good fight, man. Jack Della Maddalena. I don't even know who that is. I've never heard of him. Is he good? Jack Maddalena. I've never heard of him. What weight is that? I've never heard of him. I don't even know who that is. He's the current champ, yeah? Yeah, I've never heard of him. Oh, Islam's moving up for the belt. Okay. Yeah, listen, I need to get back into it, man, because I've missed track of it, man. Missed track of it. But guys, listen up. Obviously, I'm gonna hit the gym now. And then you got the dreaded food shopping straight after. So yeah, man, and then got boxing later. So yeah, busy day for me, man. And yeah, obviously you have to get on with it, you know what I mean? But yeah, listen, big up yourselves each and every time for coming through. Big up to all the mods. Ben by emotional damage. We'll have to wait and see, man. But it's sure to be a good fight, man. And I'm looking forward to it. But as I said, guys, make sure you smash the like button on your way out. Help the channel to grow. And make sure you sub to the channel if you're new in here as well. And as I said, check out all the other content. And let me know, guys, what you think moving forwards. Again, we should be back 100% next Monday with Fitz as well and Jonas. So yeah, make sure you guys come over on the Monday for our usual set. And then I should be back tomorrow. I'm not sure what time yet, but yeah, if it's not a morning stream, then I'll try and give you one in the evening, and then vice versa. If it's not a if I can do a morning one, then I possibly won't do an evening one, but there'll be something. So yeah, not sure yet, but just keep an eye on my schedule. And yeah, just make sure your notifications are on. But yeah, big up yourselves each and every time. As I said, smash the like button, sub to the channel. And yeah, guys, I'll catch you guys in a bit, man. Take it easy.